Very busy day today. We want to talk with the other big story that hit White House advisor Larry Kudlow on Power Lunch with a message to the Fed. Cut rates now. Take a listen.
First of all, when did you change or decide that a 50 basis point rate cut is appropriate here?
Well, look, I am echoing the president's view. He's not been bashful about that view. He would also like the Fed to cease shrinking its balance sheet. And I concur with that view. Looking at some of the indicators, I mean, the economy looks fundamentally quite healthy. We just don't want that threat. There is no inflation out there. So I think the Fed's actions were probably overdone. I mean, let me make a point here. This is our view. This is his view. This is my view. Federal Reserve's independent central bank. They're going to do what they're going to do. But somebody asked me, and I responded to it.
All right. So what's interesting is that he later on, when press, said that this would be a protective measure, that the economy is actually fundamentally strong. But there is signs of slowdown around the world, and that just to be sure, to make sure that this economic growth is not interrupted, he wants 50 basis points cut. Does this add up?
No, I don't get it at all for so many reasons, right? If what he's saying is true, that the U.S. economy is doing great, and I believe the U.S. economy is in good shape. If that is the case, then why do you need this protective 50 basis point, which is a big right. move in this market, a very big move. Why do you need that now, right? It makes no sense to me. Don't you want to have some protection for when you don't have a good market, right? When the economy is slower, you want to have something left. So I don't really get that at all. To me, it's just let's goose the economy as much as we possibly can until November of 2020, and then who cares? Just get reelected, do whatever it takes. Don't worry about deficits. Don't worry about. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, as a crypto Bitcoin investor, I couldn't have asked for better news in this sense. So I'm a bit mixed because I think it's the wrong move economically. We don't need a 50 basis point rate cut. At the best, what we need is a steeper yield curve. That would help. The Fed could effectuate that. But in terms of where the economy is, I think a 50 basis point, if Monday morning they came out and cut rates by 50 basis point, I think you'd have a panic in the market. I think investors would have to reevaluate what is the Federal Reserve seeing that, wait a second, maybe the economy's weaker than we expected.
Or what is the Federal Reserve's role here? I mean, come on, Larry knows better than this. I'm sorry. Look, healthy does not equal accommodating policy. If anything, we've heard from the Fed that we are trying to get to neutral policy. In fact, we got within a range, and whether the Fed has been good at communicating or not, the Fed has a mandate. They have a mandate on growth. They have a mandate on inflation. They don't have a mandate on being tactical. They don't have a mandate about maybe preempting a downward move. They also, by the way, now suddenly we're so worried about the rest of the world that actually our policy is going to come under, I think, undue influence from the rest of the world. Look, China has some issues. China has certainly been slowing. The rest of the world's been slowing. But it's not at a case where we see U.S. GDP falling off the map. It may be hurting. Look, let's face this. This is a political statement. This is ultimately a place where we're getting into an election season. And we all know elections have been won and lost based upon the economy. You could get back to and say, hey, look, should we have cut taxes a year ago? And again, I'm not sure that we needed that tax cut a year ago. By the way, wouldn't it be great to be cutting taxes now, possibly? Wouldn't that have been a better opportunity? So, I have to say, I'm disheartened by these kinds of comments coming out of Larry Kudlow, because I think Larry knows better.
For what it's worth, the markets did go to session high. I mean, I don't want to make too much a mountain out of a molehill in terms of a couple points move on the S&P 500, but session highs on the back of those comments.
Quarter end, Larry trots out, which is great. And we say Larry because we all know him for many years. We're not trying to be disrespectful, number one. Number two, it's America first. I get it. America first. I'll play the game. But America first, or the citizens first. 73% of this economy is driven by us buying things. If the U.S. dollar gets stronger, that's great for all of us. The Fed, in a global weakening environment, in my opinion, has an opportunity to strengthen the United States by raising rates, as counterintuitive as that might sound, but makes our dollar much stronger, makes our buying power much better. It might hurt the stock market, but the stock market's not the economy. And the fact that they keep parading out here trying to prop up the market, to me, is a real problem.
You mentioned the yield curve, and theoretically it should help on the shorter end if you're cutting 50 basis points. Do you think that would actually be isolated to the shorter end of the yield curve?
No, that's the problem,
and
right?
That was
the
my
concern.
question to Larry. Also,
exactly.
I
think if you cut the short end, the whole whole yield curve is going to shift lower. It's still going to remain flat. They'd be better off. They've got a really big balance sheet. If they want lower rates on the short end, they'd be better off selling their 10-year and 30-year positions and then buying 2-year and under.
Sort of
that would
twist
steepen.
sort of thing.
It's a reverse operation twist or rot. Again, these are all crazy.
Rot.
Yeah, rot.
Reverse
It's a
operation.
reverse operation twist. ROT.
Like that term.
But you do a rot type of thing that would steepen the yield curve. It would get you your lower rates on the short end. That's what I would do.
Well, we saw the curve shift down by 50 bips. So just to leave it, I think we kind of already priced some of this stuff in. Stephen Moore was out there 2 days ago.